I'm going to read from my novel Iron City from the first chapter. Frank Kalinyak, who's a retired Tucson cop, originally from Pittsburgh, has returned home for his class reunion. He's been brought there by an old friend, Bobby Mack, who works for the Pittsburgh DA's office, and he has a job for Frank. So Frank's going to mix the high school reunion with some police work. He drives in from the airport to the Forrest Harris Hotel, an old luxury hotel in downtown Pittsburgh, and he gets up to his hotel room, and we'll pick it up here in chapter 1. This has been somewhat condensed, just for considerations of time. He took off his suit coat and trousers and stood before the closet mirror in his underwear and shadow boxed. Outside the hotel it began to rain. It hit the window glass in great thick splats. He heard a loud crack of thunder. He stood at the window and watched the rain. Jagged shards of lightning cracked off the high building tops. It was pouring now, and it felt fresh and good. He had 4 hours until the reunion. Who would be there, he wondered. Would he know them? Would they know him? Bobby Mack would be there, and he looked forward to seeing him after all these years. Bobby, who worked in the Pittsburgh DA's office, had begged him to come. Jack Dahlgren's dead, murdered. Their old friend, Jack Dahlgren. It had happened a few weeks earlier, mid-August. In hearing about it, Frank Kalinyak hadn't been surprised. No, the surprise was that it hadn't happened years before. It had been predictable from their youth. Had there been a category in their high school journal, most likely to be murdered, Jack Dahlgren would have won hands down. We all have our fates to live out, Frank Kalinyak now said aloud. He thought about Jack Dahlgren and the old days, and he was filled with despair. A dull ache, a deep yawning ache, a toothache of the soul. He was haunted. Ghosts. They came to him unannounced, rose up in his consciousness. He forced them down, buried them, buried the past. It was the only way he could live. He took out of his suitcase 5 framed photographs of a young girl. He set them about the room. He gazed at them, and he fought not to weep. You're with me wherever I go, he whispered. He kissed one of the framed photos, a picture of the girl in a garden. She stood sad-faced among the flowers. She would come to him in dreams. It was the picture alive. He could smell the flowers. He tried to make her laugh. He could never succeed. The phone rang. Bobby Mack. Okay, good, you're here. Kalinyak agrees to meet Bobby Mack in the hotel bar. Kalinyak sat at the bar off the lobby, sipping a Diet Coke. In the mirror behind the bar, Kalinyak saw a very large man, heavy-set with a great shock of white hair, moving toward him. This is the reason I'm here, Bobby Mack called out. They embraced. Hey, I'm buying. Give the good man another, he called to the bartender. Diet Coke. What's that about? Glenlivet for me, he said to the bartender. No ice. It had me by the balls, and I didn't like the feeling. Jesus, what's the use of living? Bobby Mack took a pack of Camels from his suit jacket and offered one to Kalinyak. I gave them up too, Kalinyak said. I admired you for that. I admire you for that. Jesus, I've tried. I lost my marriage behind the booze. Figure if I'm going to give up the booze, I may as well give up the smokes. Bobby Mack didn't speak for a moment. I heard what happened, he said at last. I don't know how a person lives through that. I'm not sure I did live through it, Kalinyak said with a wan smile. Here's a picture. He opened his wallet and displayed a picture of the young girl whose framed photos he had set about the hotel room. She was 8 years old, standing in a flower bed, with a sad, lost smile. "Oh, beautiful," Bobby Mack said. "She was everything to me." "Cry in shame," Bobby Mack said. "And they never found." "No, nah, didn't have a clue. Oh, they looked. They looked high and low, all right. After all, I was one of theirs. The department was on it morning, noon, and night. They just never quit. Could have been anybody." "How did it happen?" Bobby Mack puffed on a cigarette, coughed. Frank Kalinyak did not speak for a while. You don't have to talk about it." No, it's good that I talk about it. It's hard, but it's good. She was in the backyard playing. My wife was right inside the house. I was working. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday. Someone came in the yard and just took her and drove her out into the desert and raped and killed her. 8 years old. Mother of Jesus. You remember me from the old days. I can take care of myself. Oh, yeah. But this, I understand. I felt it was some sort of retribution. For what? Kalinyak didn't speak. He stared in the ice in his glass. I was always tough on rapists and child molesters when I came across them. After this, well, I should have retired for my own good. You busted some people up? That's what they said. Frankie, tell me, you earning a living? I work for some bail bonds guys. I do some PI work. I keep busy. The dish of cocktail mix on the table, which Kalinyak had been fighting to resist, at last won out. He took a handful of peanuts and pretzels and began nibbling on them. And tell me, Bobby, Dahlgren, how'd that come about? Oh, very complicated. There are things about him some of us never knew. Doesn't surprise me, Kalinyak said. I mean, what was Jack Dahlgren best at? Fucking people. You fuck enough people, someone's gonna fuck with you. Oh, someone fucked with him all right. Big time. Cut him like he was a piece of sushi. The problem is, probably 1,000 people wanted to kill him. But I think we can do something here for old time's sake. You're a pro. A pro does what he has to do. It'll keep me out of trouble. That's the thing. 1 foot ahead of the other. The way of the pro. You find your path. Bobby Mack smiled and hugged Kalinyak around the shoulders. He began to sing in a pleasant baritone. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of auld lang syne? Sweet Bobby Mack, choir boy voice, Kalinyak said. I'll see you tonight, Frankie. Back in his room, Kalinyak lay on the bed. He stared at the pictures of his daughter. It was still raining outside, a soft, steady rain. There was an occasional low rumble of thunder. He fell asleep and dreamed of her, as he always did. He slept for an hour and woke feeling drained. He showered again and dressed. He put on his suit and felt uneasy, dissatisfied. He should have bought a new suit for the occasion. Fuck it, he said, thinking it had been a grave mistake coming back here. But what else did he have in his life these days? It was still raining heavily outside. The rain lashed the window. He stared at his reflection in the glass. He turned to the pictures of his dead daughter. "I miss you," he said aloud. "Nothing is worth anything without you." He began to think of the past, of many things, of ghosts, and he pushed it all down. He was thinking it was a good thing they had made him turn in his service revolver. Well, he couldn't have brought it on the plane. He didn't want it. He was certain that if he had had it here now, he would put a bullet in his head. And that's the end of chapter 1. Iron City is the book. I think it's good. I think if you have the opportunity, you should read it.